welcome everybody. Um, my name is Edwige Simon, and I'm the director of this graduate certificate in language teaching with technology. This program has been around for 4 years now, and we offer usually most of our courses in the summer. We have courses year round, but in the summer, and especially this summer, we'll be offering 5 courses. And before I tell you what those courses are, our program is designed entirely for language educators. It is a 12 graduate credit program, and all the courses are online. Not everybody seeks the certificate, and you don't have to. You don't actually have to apply. You can just start taking courses. You can take 1 course or 2 courses, and then you can continue or take a break. But if over the course of 3 years you end up taking 12 credits, including the 2 requirements, then you do receive a certificate, which is not a degree, it's a credential. Some people call it a micro-credential. You can think of it as a specialization. Some students take 9 credits and then they transfer those credits towards a master's program so that they have a master's in language education with a specialization in language technology. So there are a lot of options out there. In terms of credit transfer, we are not the ones making the decision to accept or reject those credits. If you apply for a master's program and you've taken courses with us, you have to ask them whether they're willing to take our credits. But these are full, regular graduate credits, so I don't see a reason why those credits would not transfer to a master's in language learning, language education, Spanish, French, etc. You can start at any time, you can stop at any time and take a break, and there is no minimal requirement to take courses. You need a computer, an internet connection, and some time during the week to do the coursework. This summer, we'll offer, I'll go to the summer course page, it's easier. We'll offer 5 courses. Our first course is a course in second language acquisition, and it's taught by Mark Knowles and Eric Ehrman. And it's an 8-week course. It used to be a 10-week course, but now it's an 8-week course. They read a lot of things in there, but the main text that they read is Bill von Patten's While We Are on the Topic. And so they connect his text, they discuss each chapter every week on a discussion board. For the students who are interested and willing, they can also do live sessions. It's pretty fun too. And there is a final project, and you work on the final project every week, and it's basically something that you can use in your own classroom. So that's the SLA course. It's a good course for you if you haven't taken an SLA course in a while. It's a great refresher. So that's the first course to start this summer. The second course is for teachers who teach online or want to learn how to teach online or get their feet wet with teaching online. And this is the course that Megan was taking when she started working on this or fleshing out this Kiva Global Awareness Unit. It's an 8-week course. I'm teaching this course, and it starts, I think it's my first course, June 8th, yes. And then the third course is the foundation course. That's a requirement for students who want to get the certificate. And it's a foundation course because we look at technology integration in the classroom. You know, you see there's Padlet and Quizlet, or we don't spend a lot of time talking about Kahoot or Quizlet. These are great tools, but in the foundation course, we look at what does it mean to integrate technology in our classes? How can we make sure that it has an impact on our students' proficiency? So we look at the actual standards, we look at the can-do statements, we look at the 21st century skills map, and we look also at ADA compliance and universal design. When we use technology, we want to make sure that we're all inclusive, that we're not excluding students who might have learning differences or who might be visually impaired or things like that. So these are foundation topics, and that's a 10-week course. And then the second to last course to start this summer is a course on digital games and language learning. And again, we don't talk about Quizlet or Kahoot. These are fun. We look at more robust, more thoughtful ways to integrate games in the language curriculum and really tie what we do again to proficiency, to outcomes, to motivation, to student engagement, to production of the target language. And I'm teaching this course too. Actually, I'm teaching all the courses except for the SLA course. So it's the digital games is a game, and language learning is a great course. I taught it 4 times. I've been improving it, and I really enjoy this course. And I'm not a gamer. This is not about being a gamer. It's not about, you know, playing online games. It's about really looking at games as educational tools. It's a fun course. And the last course is for teachers whose proficiency is a little rusty. I know that there are some Spanish teachers and French teachers. Sometimes they are the only Spanish teacher in their department or the only German teacher in their department. And traveling is fun, but it's expensive, and we can't always do it because we have families and we have commitments. So this is the next best thing. You actually meet one-on-one with a language partner twice a week for 30 minutes. You decide on the time. We have a schedule system. We use the third-party tool to find the language partners. And you establish learning goals. You meet with your partner, and then at the end of the week, you write a reflection. It's a great course. It's actually my favorite course in the program. I'm doing a small study on this course, and so if you want to take it, you're going to get a note from me asking you whether you want to be part of my study. And basically, my study consists in a couple questionnaires and a proficiency test before and after the course. I'm trying to determine whether this is a valid way to help teachers not just regain confidence, because I know they do, but can they increase their proficiency? And so the OPI test is at my cost. It's part of my, I got a grant to do that study. And you know, if this is too stressful, because it's a stressful course a little bit at first, you don't have to be a part of the study. It's a very fun and joyful course. There's a little bit of nervous energy at first, but there is a lot of excitement around meeting these people. The language partners are everywhere in the world, and they're really kind and they're really fun. And so it's a really interesting course. That's it. Courses registrations closes on the Wednesday before the course starts. So for example, for this course, it would be July 3rd. They always start on a Saturday, so you can look at the date and go back 3 days. Don't wait too long because they fill up. I'm hoping they'll fill up. And if you're, you know, getting a little nervous about not getting in, send me an email and I'll let you know how many spots are left in each course. That's it. I'm going to stop sharing. If you have questions for me, just put them in the chat. I want to let Megan take over because I love her project. Fantastic project. All right, Megan, can you unmute yourself? Yes, no? Let me. Oh my, now we have 19 people, so I need, oh, there you are. Okay.
Okay, I think, can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, very good.
I'm going on mute, Megan, but before I do, I want to make sure you can share your screen.
Okay.
We've got this, guys. We practiced.
Let me see here. All right, give me 1 second. All right, I think we are good to go.
All right, and guys, if it's your first time using Zoom, you can actually move the little window where you see everybody. I know this window is always in the way, so if you find the perfect spot, let me know. And all right, I'm going on mute. And all right.
Okay, well, good afternoon or good evening, depending where you are. My name is Megan McNichol, and I'm a Spanish teacher at the Derry Township School District in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And yes, it's the Hershey from the chocolate. I'm currently a student in the certificate program. And this project that I'm going to share, as Edwige already mentioned, came out of something I did in one of the courses that will be offered again this summer, LGTC 5, I think it's 5035, the Teaching Languages Online. And in my presentation tonight, I'm going to share with you how my colleagues and I have included the topics of global citizenship and microfinance with an emphasis on Kela into our Spanish instruction. And Kela is a nonprofit organization that works to provide loans to entrepreneurs all around the world. We use global citizenship and Kela as a context to present the grammar topic of commands. and as the students work towards their final project, which is creating a TV commercial for a Kiva loan applicant. As I go through the presentation tonight, I'm going to share with you a little bit of information about the tech tools that we use throughout the unit that include Edpuzzle, Goformative, and Adobe Spark. I do need to say before I get started that this presentation won't be possible without the help of my colleagues who teach Spanish with me at Hershey High School, Barb Klauser and Lauren Goloszewski. They've really been helpful in helping me develop this unit and the project that I did for the course, as well as the teachers who served as the inspiration when we initially started talking about global citizenship in our classroom. Christy Placido, Kara Jacobs, Carrie Toth, and Dustin Williamson. So first you might be asking yourself, why global citizenship? Oh, let me put this back on present mode here, sorry. There we go. So we were looking for a way to incorporate AP themes into our pre-AP courses. Specifically, when we started to realign our curriculum, we adopted a new textbook called Tejidos. It's a Wayside Publishing textbook, and we don't use it in the classroom every day, but we use it as a tool to give us ideas as to where we should be going with our curriculum. And just to give you a little background information as to what our program looks like at Hershey High School. Students at Hershey have the opportunity to start studying language in the 6th grade. They can take it through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the middle school, where they have Spanish or French every day for 4 out of the 6 days of the cycle. And then they can continue on through all 4 years of the high school. So at the high school, we offer Spanish 1 through AP Spanish, which would be a Spanish equivalent to, I guess, a Spanish 6, since we offer Spanish 5 as well. So this unit on global citizenship, we do in our Spanish 4 course. So students in Spanish 4 have typically had 4 to 5 years of instruction when this unit is presented, and they're usually sophomores or juniors in high school. And when we were working on realigning curriculum, our AP teacher really stressed to us that they wanted to incorporate the AP themes into the pre-AP courses. And as we were looking at adopting the new textbook, we picked global citizenship as a theme because it could fit in many areas of the AP themes, including families and communities, global challenges, or contemporary life. Global citizenship with the textbook that we use to align our curriculum is part of their family and community theme. So in order to prepare the students for the global citizenship unit, we start with giving them a background into what is global citizenship. We look at questions of what is a global citizen, what are the characteristics of a global citizen, what challenges do people around the world face? And we really thought that this was important for our students. We have a little joke in Hershey that there's a chocolate bubble that kind of isolates everyone from the rest of the world, and our students aren't very aware of what's going on in the world around them. And we thought that this would be a good opportunity to show them what's going on outside of their little chocolate bubble here in Hershey, Pennsylvania. A lot of the activities that we use for this portion of the unit are based on resources that were provided with our textbook, but they came from a program whose logo's here on the slide, Jóvenes por una Ciudadanía Global, and some of the resources can be found on the website. I included the link there, as well as some of the videos that we use, so that the students have a background information as to what a global citizen is, what the global citizen does, and what kind of issues are out there in the world before we even go into anything about microfinance or the Kiva organization. Once the students have had the background information into what a global citizen is, we finally go into microfinance and the Kiva program. And I would love to say that this was an original idea that we came up with, but we were inspired by a lot of other teachers that were out there. I included their names and the links to their resources. Some of you may already be familiar with these educators or their resources, but our first source of information was Christy Placido and her blog and her unit on micro lending. Two teachers that were also inspired by Christy include Carrie Toth and Kara Jacobs, who also do Kiva projects with their students, and Dustin Williamson as well. Dustin no longer has his Kiva information posted on his website, but I did include the link to his blog there for you. The one thing, as we were looking at all the different sources as we got started with this project, was that everyone mentioned the documentary Living on $1. There's the picture there is the movie poster for the film. I included a link on the slide here that can take you to the trailer to give you an idea as to what the film is about. It's a documentary where there's 4 college students who decide they've always heard about poverty, but they want to understand it firsthand. And they go to Guatemala and see what it's like to live where you don't know how much money you're going to have coming in each day, to see what it's like to truly live on $1 a day. The video is available for free if you're an Amazon Prime member. It was on Netflix for a while as well. I'm not sure if it's still there or not. We created a worksheet, and I have the link there to the worksheet on the slide as well, that our students complete as they watch the video. The video is in English. It's about 56 minutes, so our class periods are 43 minutes, so we usually spend about a period and a half watching the documentary. But since the students go to Guatemala, there's a lot of Spanish in the video, so the students are hearing the target language as they're viewing the video. The worksheet that we created does have the students answering questions in Spanish about what they're seeing in the video. And it's always interesting for me to see how the students respond. There's one question on there, number 9, that asks, what won't you take for granted anymore after viewing the video? And it's eye-opening to me what some of the students say and how many of them didn't realize the kind of situations that people around the world face day to day. And they really seem to respond well to the young men in the video, because they're not much older than the students that are viewing the video. Within the documentary Living on $1, they do introduce Grameen Bank, which is a microfinancing organization. And they kind of in the video give a little basic information into what is microfinance, how getting a loan from a microfinance organization like Grameen is different than going to a traditional bank. And they also show the impact that the loans from Grameen have had on the people in the village of Peña Blanca that's featured in the video. Once we've done that and the students have that background information, we first present Kiva to them. We do it by presenting a movie talk with the students. I included a link here to the Google Slides presentation that Dustin Williamson originally created, that it breaks down the story of Pedro and Pedro's use of Kiva. It was a video that was actually created by Kiva. There's links there for the video. Unfortunately, it's only available in English or English with Spanish subtitles. So in class, we'll go through, do the movie talk activity. I'll tell the story of Pedro and his use of Kiva in Spanish. I have the students take notes on the key factors that they're seeing in the video. They could do this in Spanish or English, and then I usually have them tell me the story back so that I can see that they understood the events that had happened to Pedro that caused him to use Kiva to borrow money to help his family. After we've done the movie talk and they've retold the story back to me, we will watch the actual original Pedro video that was created by Kiva so that they can see the actual story. The next step to scaffold the students in their knowledge of Kiva is based off some materials that Christy Placido created. There's a link there to her original materials, and we kind of do a gallery walk. We have a slide presentation, and I'll actually click on it here to share it with you, that the students will go through. And let's see here, the internet's a little slow here, I apologize. They can start to take a look at the actual loans from various Kiva borrowers before they actually go to the website. So they get to look at various write-ups here that you would find on the Kiva website where someone would present their loan request. And we get the students to start asking things by filling out the worksheet, and I've included a link to the worksheet on the main slide. ¿Qué tipo de negocio es? ¿Cuántos años tiene la persona? ¿Dónde está el negocio? para qué quiere el préstamo? ¿Cuál es la meta para las ganancias? Just to get them thinking about what kind of people are requesting the loans, what situations they're in, what they do, how much they're asking, and what they're going to do with their earnings. So that really gives the students a good, excuse me here, I apologize. Skipped ahead a slide. I'll skip back here. Thank you for your patience. It just gives the students an idea as to what kind of requests people are making of Kiva and what sort of situations people are facing that they would go to Kiva for a loan. And again, this is all before we actually have them explore the Kiva website on their own. Now, earlier I mentioned that we do this unit along with our grammar point of commands. And teaching commands is not always the most fun or exciting topic with students. And I decided to do something different this year for the direct grammar instruction, in that I tried to make it a flipped or blended learning experience. I don't teach a blended course, so it was more a flipped learning experience where the students did their grammar work outside of class, and then in class, we were able to practice using the commands in context. In order to do this, I used Edpuzzle. And if you're not familiar with Edpuzzle, it's an amazing tool that allows you to take videos and add voiceover and questions to the content. So you can take any video from YouTube, upload it into Edpuzzle, and then add your own questions to it. There is a demo video in the slide if you'd like to view it later to give you a basic idea about Edpuzzle. For my grammar instruction for the flipped lessons, I created a Prezi presentation that explained the commands. We looked at both formal and informal affirmative and negative commands. And I created a series of 5 short videos that allowed the students to learn the grammar concept and practice with it in context. All the vocabulary and everything that was used in the videos and that I created was based on the theme of global citizenship. The students were able to complete the videos outside of class, and I was able to see how they did to then, when they came back to class, divide the class into 2. I used the videos to assess the students' mastery, and any student who scored 80% or above on the various topics with the Edpuzzle, they were able to begin activities using the grammar point in context in class. And I was able to group the students who scored below an 80% to review with them and go over the grammar that was introduced in the Edpuzzles. And the students seemed to respond really well to this type of instruction. It was the first time I'd ever done anything like this. And I feel that the mastery was about the same as when I had spent a couple of days in class going over and practicing with the various command forms. One thing I would say about this, in hindsight, it was very time consuming creating my own materials to upload and into Edpuzzle to use, making sure I had examples that were related to the vocabulary, creating the Prezi, creating the videos. And also with my current teaching schedule, I have 3 classes of Spanish 4, so I have about 80 students. So they all submitted the answers one night, so it was a lot of grading in one night in order to be able to divide them into the 2 groups for instruction. So something I might do in the future is maybe spread them out over time, a couple nights for homework, to give me a little more time to give them quality feedback and be able to know where I need to go next with my instruction. So once they've had the introduction to the commands, then we wanted to start having the students look at them in context, scaffold how the students were being exposed to the commands. And one way we tried to do that is with Goformative. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Goformative is a web-based tool that works on any device, which is great because no matter if your school, if you have Chromebooks or if you have iPads or if you're bring your own device school, no matter what device the students have, they can use Goformative that allows you to create online digital assessments. I did include in the presentation, there's a link to the Goformative website, and there's also a link to an article that I wrote about Goformative for the FL Teach magazine that University of Colorado has, that you can access for more information on it. It has both free and premium features. The free features, you can do multiple choice, true, false, short answer questions. And even the one thing, my favorite thing about Goformative is that it allows you to upload for free up to 20 PDFs a month, and you can embed the questions right in the PDF, which I love for using with infographics or articles like the one I'm just about to talk about, to have the students be able to focus on where the information is coming from with the sources that they're using. The paid feature, I personally haven't used any of the paid features. With the paid features, you're permitted to have unlimited PDF uploads, but there's also a speaking portion that students can record, and that might be something I'd want to explore in the future. I believe it's $15 a month for the paid features. If you schedule it on a yearly basis, I think they do then $12 a month. There's a little discount if you don't pay month to month. But using Goformative, I created 2 different tasks. The first one is actually shown at the top of the slide here. This was an infographic that we found that called Ser un mejor ciudadano, so be a better citizen. And the commands were used in context. So I asked the students to do 2 things. One, identify both the affirmative and negative commands that were in the text. Then they had to choose 1 or 2 of the 12 things that and say if it was something they already do to be a good citizen, or if it is something they are going to do in the future. And they had to explain why they do it or why they want to do it in the future. And this gave me some information as to, are the students able to see where the commands are being used in a written context, and to practice with them a little bit before we went to start forming them on our own and in relation to Kiva. The second task in Goformative that I created was to take 4 different Kiva borrower requests and make it into an interpretive activity. I had some reading comprehension questions that the students had to answer about the request. As well, then I asked the students to come up with commands that they would give to someone to help the person that was requesting the Kiva loan. And one thing I wanted to show you with the Kiva website, I'm going to click here on this link. When you go to a Kiva borrower's page, for example, this one here for Maria from Costa Rica, when it initially appears, the write-up is in English, but there is always the original language description if you click here. So I took 4 random original language descriptions and used them for the students to look at, and came up with the comprehension questions. Even if you don't teach Spanish, there are Kiva loan requests for people from around the world. So if you teach French, you would be able to find original language descriptions for a loan request from your country of study, or one of the countries that speaks the language, the target language that you use in your classroom. One of the things that I really like about Formative is the screenshot that's at the bottom of the slide here. This is the response page that teachers see, and it allows me to see which students answered each question. And with the sample here, this is how the questions, the responses appear to me. And it's real easy to have everyone's response there to go through, grade them, assess them, and give them feedback. So this was an easy way for me to go in, see how the students were doing, identifying the commands, and then forming the commands and giving them feedback as to how I thought they were doing with forming commands, and then also to check in to kind of see if there was anything I needed to review before we would start working on our final activity. This was my first year doing these activities. These came out of my work in the course, the certificate course this fall. They worked really well, but they took the students longer to complete than I thought they thought they were going to. And it also, again, was more time consuming for me to give the students feedback. One thing I think I might do next year with the second task, where they were reading the Kiva borrowers, their requests, I did 4 of them. I might narrow it down to 2, because with 2, it would still give me the chance to ask some comprehension questions and be able to see how they're doing forming commands on their own, as well as give them feedback in a more timely fashion. The last step that we do with the students to try to scaffold their practice with commands before and global citizenship before they complete their Kiva video is a task through Flipgrid. I put a link here to explain what Flipgrid is if you are not familiar with it, but it is a tool that's used for recording student voice. It's both web-based and available as an app, and it's totally free, which is wonderful. When you create your account with Flipgrid, teachers have a kind of dashboard, which is where you would go and create your grids. And your grid is basically like your class. So I have several grids. I usually organize one grid per class. Sometimes I might have one grid per language level, so the students can interact with peers from other classes in the same language level, but it's up to you how many different grids you want to have, and there's no limit as to the number of grids that you have. Within each grid, you then create a topic, and the topics are what the students respond to. You can have a topic just to the class or share it with a bunch of different classes, and it's really easy to copy a topic from one grid to another within Flipgrid. To respond to a topic, students create a short video where they respond to the question, and one of the great things that they can do, they can even then go in and watch their peers' videos and respond back with their own video. So Flipgrid can be used both as a presentational and interpersonal tool in the classroom. The screenshot here is a picture of the topic that we used in our unit on global citizenship. For this task, the students read a document from the United Nations on Desarrollo Sostenible, and they went through and it looked at the 17 goals for sustainable development. The document, I have a link to it here. It is in Spanish, and it was really cool when I brought this up because a lot of the kids made a connection that they had seen these goals in another one of their classes in social studies. Like, oh, we talked about this in AP Human Geography. We talked about this somewhere else. And it was great to see them make the connection with their other classes to something that we were doing in Spanish class. So the students were asked to read the 17 goals, and then they were asked to pick the 3 they thought were most important for a global citizen of the 17 goals. And then they were asked to give an affirmative and formal command to say why a global citizen would do that and explain why. So that was their initial post. It was more presentational because it was a little more advanced, and the students were reading the document and then coming up with which ones they thought were more important and explaining why. So the students were able to write something down when they recorded their Flipgrid. Sometimes when I use Flipgrid, I don't allow them to write anything down, so it's more spontaneous what they're recording. And students posted their initial responses, and I'll share one out here. Bear with me here. Hopefully Nicole's response will come up here.
Hola, me llamo Nicole y estas son mis 3 metas. 1. Erradicar la pobreza. Muchas personas necesitan acceso a más materiales y cosas limpios. 2. Donar dinero a educación para niños. Ellos merecen una educación para mejores trabajos y vidas. Y 3. Trabaja juntos para lograr las metas porque es necesario para hacer del mundo un lugar mejor.
So that gives you a little bit of idea as to what the students' initial posts looked like. After that, to make the task more interpersonal, I had the students go in and respond to some of their peers. They had to respond to 2 different peers and say which of the goals that they agreed with and why, and share their ideas. I did assess this using a rubric. There's a link to the rubric here. The students it was worth 15 points for their initial response, and then 5 points for their responses to their peers. So I included a rubric there for you to share as well. As with some of the, this was the first time I did this activity. And again, with the number of students I have, it was a little time consuming to get the feedback back to everyone. So maybe next year I might have them just respond to 1 peer instead of 2, to try to save some time in giving them the quality feedback that they need to let them know how I thought they were doing, forming their commands in their videos. Once we've done all these activities, the students are now finally ready to complete their actual Kiva project. And again, this was inspired, Christy Placido was the first source that we found that did a commercial with her students, and we've since adapted things for our students. So we go through several steps in completing the final project. They include an introduction slide, creating the script, actually creating and submitting your video, and then finally another gallery walk and voting. So our idea for the introduction slide actually was based off of something Kara Jacobs did. And I included a link here to the summary slide template that we used that was based off Kara's work. But the students, to begin with, they create a summary slide, and it looks kind of similar to the one that's here. In the introduction slide, the students go in and use the Kiva website for the first time. We ask, since it's Spanish class, they pick a borrower from a Spanish-speaking country. They go in, they can research whomever they like. One piece of advice I would give at this time is that the students look for somebody who has 25 or more days left in their loan request. This project takes usually about a 2-week period. And when we're doing it with our students here in Hershey, it's usually January, which means we're gonna have snow days at some point, so we get some weather interruptions. So the longer the time left on the loan, the better chance you'll actually have to maybe make a donation to that person. Because what I do with my students that's different than some of the other teachers whose blogs I mentioned is we vote for our favorite video from each class. Then we vote for the best video out of Spanish 4, and then we take up a donation for that person. Some of the other teachers do donations for the first, second, and third place video in each class, but I found that this worked best with my students. So I want to make sure that we still have a chance to donate to this person's loan, because that's when it really becomes impactful, when the students can see, hey, we let this person borrow money to accomplish their goal, and they've started to pay us back. And it's really neat for the students to see, like, hey, this isn't just something that Senora is talking about just to talk about, that it's actually making a difference in people's lives. So we'll take 2 to 3 class periods. I'll introduce the introduction slide, then they'll have some time to work on it. So it's usually a period or 2 that they create their introduction slide. And in their introduction slide, they're sharing, just usually there's a description of the person, their family, how old they are, where they live, how much they're asking for, and then what they're going to do with the money from the loan. One thing I do ask the students to do in their introduction slide is include the URL or the link to the Kiva site or to the Kiva borrower page, because that makes it easy for me to go back and interact with the page if I have any questions about the information that they posted. Once we've created the introduction slides and I've had a chance to go in, check to make sure everybody's picked someone from a Spanish-speaking country, that they have the basic information that they need, then we give the students the opportunity to start working on their script. I did include links to the project outline that we give the students for the project. We ask that the students in the project, that they tell us where the person's from, description of their business, the kind of things they do. And as they're making their commercial, we ask for them to have 4 affirmative commands and 2 negative commands. We don't give specific guidelines that it has to be an usted command or a to command. We just ask that they're consistent throughout. That if they're gonna use usted commands, that they're consistent using usted commands, that they're gonna use to, etc. And I usually give the students a period and a half to come up with their script, and then I will collect them and give them feedback to say, okay, this looks great, you forgot this requirement, maybe you should include this, and give them any other areas of improvement before they actually go and create their actual video. We don't specify with the students what tech tool they need to use to create their video. However, one that a lot of students use is Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark is a great tool. It's both web-based and available as an app that allows students to create graphics and short videos. They have thousands of templates for graphics, audio. The videos already have music that you can use that's right there. There is a premium feature available It's, I think, about $10 a month. Basically, that allows you to, allows you access to more templates, and it allows you to remove the Adobe Spark watermark from your videos. But there's so much available for free that allows the students to create a very finished and polished product that a lot of the students usually turn to this tool. And if you haven't used it, I would highly recommend giving it a try. Most of the videos that the students create are 30 to 60 seconds, which would be about the typical length of a commercial. To submit their videos, I actually have the students go back to their introduction slide, and if you look at the sample that's here in the presentation, this would be the link to the Kiva borrowers page, and then here's the link to their video. I have each class, depending on time. This year with snow days, we got a little bit behind, and I wasn't able to have each class watch all the videos created in their class. But we'll do a gallery walk where I create another worksheet, and the actual link to the sheet we use is included here, where the students go in and watch what their peers created. So they write down the name of the borrower, where the borrower's from, and what how much they're requesting the loan, and what they want to do with the loan. And then on that sheet, they also give their peers feedback about their video. They share one thing that they thought they did really well and something they could do to improve in the future. After we've done the gallery walk, then we do our vote. And I usually use Google Form to do our vote. And there's a screenshot in the lower right-hand corner of the screen that shows our voting page from this year. I'm actually going to show you a quick part of one of the videos. This was actually the video that won this year. This is Jennifer. So you can see what the students can create in Adobe Spark.
Imagina gastar todo de tus ahorros en empezar un negocio para ganar más dinero para tu familia. Pero el negocio no es tan exitoso como tú pensabas. Tampoco tienes dinero para levantar el negocio. Tu única opción es coger un préstamo. Ese es el problema de Jennifer. Ella tiene 2 hijos y uno tiene 3 años y el otro tiene 1 año. También Jennifer es una mujer que tiene 35 años y tiene pelo castaño.
En los 3 años pasados, ella se mudó a Soledad, Colombia, pero no había tiendas en este lugar. Ella decidió empezar un negocio que vende.
So that just gives you a sample. That video there, we had a heritage speaker and a Spanish second language learner in that video there. But we were actually able to then collect a donation for Jennifer. And this week we actually received our first repayment back from Jennifer because her loan was fulfilled and she's been able to start using the money and start paying us back. So I was able to share with the students on Monday that, hey guys, look, Jennifer's, it might only be 5% and it goes to everybody that donated to Jennifer's cause, but they were able to see that, hey, this is making an impact in somebody's life far away from our little chocolate bubble here in Hershey. Now, again, I said we do this with our Spanish 4 students. I'm sure that the project could be adapted to various Spanish course levels. I know that, I think it was Kara Jacobs, that she did it with her Spanish 1 students. One way, we also talk about global citizenship at Hershey High School. In Spanish 3, we do something about the Pulsar Project. I'm not gonna go into huge depth about the Pulsar Project. There's a link there to the website as well as a video. The Pulsar Project, its country focus is Nicaragua, and it promotes the pulseras that people in Nicaragua make. It was started actually, I believe, by a group of students at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And they partner with schools across the country to have sales where they actually sell the pulseras at the school. Our Spanish club ran the sale at the end of March, beginning of April, and it's really cool. You can see here in the picture, these are the pulseras, so they're bright, beautiful colors, and each one comes with a tag, and it has the photo and the name of the person who made it. And when you sign up to do one of the pulsera sales, they provide you with a ton of pre-made resources to use in Spanish class, and all the activities they provide you with are for various different levels that you can use from Spanish 1 all the way up to advanced Spanish courses. So I apologize if I talked quickly. I had a lot of information that I wanted to share with everyone. I'm open to any questions that anyone might have. If I can't answer your question tonight, my email address is there, and this project and unit is still a work in progress. And this was the 3rd year we tried our Kiva projects, and there was definitely a lot of new things that we added to scaffold to get to the results that we had. So thank you so much for your time. I know this is a busy time of year for everyone, so thank you for taking time out of your schedule to attend this evening.
Thank you so much, Megan. So,
thank you.
How about, do you guys want to type your questions in the chat? Do you mind? I'm worried. I can try to unmute everybody, but I don't really have the option to selectively unmute people. So I'm worried that if I unmute 21 people right now, it's going to be really loud. So why don't you type your questions in the chat, and then when I see your name, I can just go and unmute you, and we can try doing that. And you can think for a minute about questions that you might have.
Ewish?
Yes.
I have a question. Sorry, how can I see the chat screen again with any of the questions that are coming up?
So,
do I need to go back? I apologize, everybody.
Out of presenter mode, because right now you're in full screen.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And then if you go over to the bottom, next to your share button, you should see the chat button. And same thing for everybody. This is where the chat is located. If you bring your cursor over to the bottom of your screen, the bottom of the Zoom window, you should see the chat. And actually, if I type something, you should get a notification. You should see a little #1 number or something pop up. Do you see it, Megan?
No, it is not appearing on mine right now. Let me close this stuff out.
You know what? I'll just.
Maybe if I make this smaller, I'll see it. I apologize.
I unmuted everybody. I'm glad that it's getting loud, but just go ahead and ask your questions. Gary says that I only see the chat if I hover my mouse over the active screen. Right, go ahead, guys. You're unmuted. Ask your questions to Megan. Laura said, thank you so much. Great ideas and materials. You all have access to the slides. I have a question, Megan. Did you have to train your students on Adobe Spark?
With Adobe Spark, some of the students, we've been using Adobe Spark for probably 3 or 4 years, and a lot of them have had access to it in their other courses. So I find that most of them know how to use it already when I suggest it as a tool. Our district has a one-to-one iPad initiative that we are in our 2nd year of it at the high school, but the students have had it since the 6th grade in the middle school. So some of them had been exposed to something like Adobe Spark before. And
it's a lot easier to use than iMovie, for example.
You have some that choose to use iMovie. That's why we typically, with everything that we do, we will give the students an option with what they feel most comfortable with. I know for me, I personally find Adobe Spark a lot easier to use. I have had to use iMovie, or I've used it in the past, but we try to give the students options, and whatever they feel most comfortable with, we usually go with that.
Sarah asks, do you use Goformative quite a bit in your courses?
I use Goformative a lot in my Spanish 3 and Spanish 4 courses. I'd say I probably use Goformative at least 2 to 3 times a month. So the students, it's something we set up right at the beginning of the year, and it's something that they become very familiar with using. Sometimes I'll use it just to quick gather information in a true formative fashion, or sometimes I'll use it more that it is a summative and it's an assessment.
I'm gonna plug in a resource in the chat window. It's called the fltmag.com It's an online magazine on technology integration in the language classroom, and Megan actually wrote a review of Goformative for the FLT mag for, was it the March issue? I think it was the March issue.
Yes, I believe it was in March.
Yeah, you can check it out if you're curious about Goformative. Any student feedback you can share with us that was interesting to hear?
The students really like this project. One of the best things that's come out of it, I've had a couple of students who've now graduated and gone on to college, and they told me when they got to college, they started learning about Kiva, and they were able to explain and share with their peers and their professors because they had learned about it in Spanish class. And it's also great because the kids then, sometimes I know that our Model UN students have done stuff with Kiva as well. They start to bring it up in other organizations that they're involved with, and they'll ask too. They'll be every once in a while, hey, did we get any repayment from so-and-so, or that kind of thing. And in some of them, even if we don't make the donation to their person that they chose to create the video for, they will make a donation themselves or check on that person to see if their loan has been filled or not.
That's nice. I love that part of the project. It really makes it real. Yes, to answer the question in the chat, I pasted a link to the slides in the chat, but tomorrow, well, I'm traveling to France tomorrow, so I'm not sure I'll have a chance to prepare this recording and email it to everybody. But I should be able to do it by the end of the week. I'll include the slides and the recording. So yeah, you will have access to all this material, definitely. All right, so last chance for questions. Once, going twice. All right, everybody, thank you very much for coming. If you're interested in this kind of webinars, we have about 12 of them on the certificate website, so take a look. And it's also on our YouTube channel. I'll send you a link to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers so that I can get a custom URL instead of a bunch of numbers. And yes, thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and you'll get an email from me by the end of the week. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Megan. That was the last webinar of the semester. I think I'm going to take a break. So that was great. I thought that went great. It's a great project. I really like it a lot.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely.